Okay.
So hi, my name is Thomas and I want to introduce my project and introduction for my game Fly Away. The first go through the general introduction. My goal will be to create a game, first level of a game until the 13th of April, end of the project, with Blender as the modeling, with Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator with the artwork, and the Photoshop for texturing. I want to do with Reaper the music and using the Unity 3D engine for the whole game as it is. I went through a couple of ideas. The very first idea was a generic survival game. Sorry, no offense for Ian, but I found it too common and too relevant and very competitive, so I dropped the idea. But after then, because my daughter loves birds, I thought, what if it's not a human who is surviving, but an actual animal? And I picked the birds and started to think of what a bird does for surviving. But as I thought it, the actual environment would be too immense, too big, and too detailed, far too much work to work with. So I reduced it to actually a closed area, a kitchen, and I turned the bird into another animal, a housefly. And I really like this idea. I wanted to go a little bit further with it, and I found it's a kind of unique idea because hardly any kind of game goes into an insect point of view. There are a few, I will show them to you later, but generally speaking, the fly was I like the idea, and it's less competition in the market, and it's quite feasible with an enclosed area. I repeat, this is just the first level of a whole game. I was planning to do different rooms and maybe outdoor areas like a shed or any other place where the fly can actually journey. The setting was, as I told, a general townhouse kitchen, and this means that the kitchen as an enclosed area, I have to think of how a fly cannot escape from it. So the basic idea behind what you should do is just basically feeding and breeding, laying eggs, and I think it gives you a very unique perspective of everyday environment, like a kitchen. How does it look like from a fly's point of view? Apart from that it's an average kitchen, it's not a present-day kitchen, because I thought a modern kitchen is far too clean and far too well protected against flies to have space for it. So I went back in time, and I ended up in the 50s, because I think the 50s has a kind of unique style and instantly recognizable, and at the same time it's much more brighter than, let's say, the 1930s or even a medieval environment. I plan to do in the environment access to different areas, like enclosed areas, like in the oven, or going into the fridge, or under the sink cabinet. And I want to plan for using the environment in two different modes: the flying mode, obviously, and as the fly can walk on different surfaces, like even upside down. And the protagonist is a common housefly. The enemies would be spiders, centipede, and different kind of insects which are protecting their food or actively hunting the fly itself. And of course other flyers, so in the air you have some kind of enemies as well, like wasps protecting the sweet food, or different fly types. The genre is, I try to put it in a kind of genre category, and I found the 3D third-person adventure game would be the closest, because the 3D, because the third person, because the protagonist, the fly, would be constantly on the screen, and you would control, and you see as the fly flies or walks on the surface. It would be a 3D because it will be fully three-dimensional, so you can go behind plates and different kind of housewares and inside different areas. So that's why it's 3D, and it's an adventure because the whole game mechanics, seeking food, encourages you to explore the area and find different hidden places. I thought because there are a couple of scenes when the fly is caught by, let's say, hunters and killed, and it could be pretty gruesome even on their level. Maybe it cause little children fear, or it can be scary. So I thought maybe the 12 years of age is the most mature for this game to play with and above. So that's why I gave a 12 rating. And some of the influences which I found, the Deadly Creatures, it's a 2009 Nintendo game where you play as a spider. That was the most inspiring game. I have it myself and I played it through. Bad Mojo is another old school game which is from the 90s, and it was on PC, and you are basically a cockroach to find a way. It has a unique story. You are a scientist who is actually doubled with occultism, and the evil witch changes you to a cockroach, and you have to find a way to get yourself back to your human form. But in most of the game you are a cockroach, so you have this insect point of view. And Spider, the Secret of Bryce Manor, I found this very little funny game where you are a spy and you have to catch flies to eat and recover a very big secret in this so-called Bryce Manor, which is it's a 2D kind of little bit strategy and a little bit a survival game, and you are a little spider in it. Very fun game anyway. The mechanics were mostly associated with the kitchen environment and the fly itself, like the enemies actively hunt the player, some of them, and searching for your character. Apart from some restrictions, like you cannot leave the kitchen itself, you are free to move anywhere in the environment. And the different enemies behave differently, like wasps are mostly protecting their food while the spiders hunting you. And I thought maybe put in some human-made, like a fly trap or some kind of thing, like an oven is closing on you, and these kind of traps makes your play a little bit more dangerous, and you have to be more aware of your environment. Health is not really show a health bar or anything, it just progressively gets darker as you lose in health, and if you're not hiding or evading the enemies, you eventually die, and then animation plays on as you die. And your best way to replenish your health is actually either eating or hiding from the enemies, or escaping from them, getting an unreachable area. Like spiders cannot fly, obviously you have to fly away from them. I plan to do a so-called evolution screen when you can acquire through feeding different kind of unique abilities, like fly a little bit faster, or you have a boost, or you can walk much faster, or you sense couple of seconds before the actual attack might come behind you, and these can be unlocked as you feeding. And the other thing is what is important with this, that eventually you get the ability to laying eggs, and you actually defeat the game. The player has no weapons against the others. You just have to evade and escape from the enemies. And I plan to do either a death or a breeding animation, laying eggs and start to breed as the final thing. My art and design, mostly my assets will be 3D, so I use Blender for them. Everything will be 3D, and many items in it, like forks and other things, will have some physics on them, so you can actually affect your environment. It won't be static. And all the characters which I'm doing, I want to do texturing them with different maps, like normal maps, AO maps, and specular maps. So quite a little bit of work ahead of me. Here are 2 moon boards. This is the environment, about my kitchen environment. As you can see, I chose this blue color as the most striking one, because in the 50s it was quite common to use this color, especially in American English-speaking world. And I doubled with the color schemes and with the color swatches, that what kind of colors I want to be appear on the game environment itself. In the other screen, you can see the different enemies and the parts of my studies of on the fly, anatomical parts and so on, such. Current progress, I made 3 models so far, a daddy long legs, which is need to be sculpted, but otherwise it's fully modeled. I made the fly, it's ready to be textured and made different, I have to bake the different maps like AO map or the normal map, but apart from that, everything is done. And I have a bull spider, which is about the same stage as the fly it is. I plan a couple of others like a wasp, which I used mostly the fly smash, just I change it and tweak it. And of course I have to resculpt it. My sound and music will be mostly the Sounddocs, freesound.com and musicradar.com. And I will try to do a couple of original recordings of myself and making Foley sounds of the movement of the fly or the spiders or ambience in the kitchen and so on. I either will tweak in the original sounds because I want the sound, even the sounds will be in a kind of fly perspective. So the higher pitched sounds will sound a little bit lower. And I had to create, obviously, many sounds because a moving spider not really noisy in a human point of view. I want to use situational music, not constant music, except the opening screen, the title screen. And my references to that like Half-Life, so sometimes it's just the situation gives a little bit of boost of the immersion, like escaping from spider, or finding something interesting, but the music won't be constant because I think it would be distracting, especially if the hunters are searching for you and you want to hear them coming. There are a couple of other things which I needed. So, for example, the death animation would have a music, and these musics would be mostly short and impulsive, and mostly percussive based, and a little bit of dark. The title screen, I have a little sample for it. I hope it works really good. This music actually is from the Deadly Creatures. So it will be a little bit like this. Back to the presentation fully. I plan to do the game with Unity 3D engine, use, as I told you earlier, Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator and Reaper. And my target platform is mobile devices. Most I will testing at the Nexus 7, and I try to make it the best work on that, which specifications are seen here. I didn't think of the controls yet, but I have a couple of ideas. I still have to research what is fitting the best for this type of game. That's it.
I'm just a little confused about the gameplay, but again, maybe just time-wise, we'll get to talk about it another day. Just try to visualize, how you say you feed, how you do whatever, like in the game, and how you avoid enemies and all that. But I'll talk about it again.
Yeah,
Okay.
Obviously
you've thought it through, and you just haven't
clarified
there.
it through.
I was thinking,
every detail is in my head, but I have a very, very good idea what I will do.
Yeah, and